This is your homework helper, Mrs. Anderson. Today I will help you with Check My Progress, page 575. Please have your homework page ready and let's begin. Let's look at the vocabulary check first of all. We're going to draw lines to match each question with its correct answer. So number 1 says, which is the greatest of the common factors of 2 or more numbers? If we're doing 2 or more numbers, do we call that a fraction, a greatest common factor, or simplest form? You'll draw a line to match. Okay, remember we're talking about common factors. That is a big clue. Number 2, which is a number that names equal parts of a whole or parts of a set? Okay, that one, I'll give you that one. That one is a fraction. If we're talking about parts of a whole or parts of a set, that is a fraction. And number 3, a fraction that is written when the greatest common factor of the numerator and denominator is 1 is written in which form? Okay, so an example of this would be if I have 6/12 and then I get the greatest common denominator of 6 and the greatest common denominator of 12, and the greatest common denominator is 1 once I'm finished. What is that called? Is that a greatest common factor or is that simplest form? You decide. Okay, I'm moving on to number 4. 3 gallons of paint are used to paint 16 wooden signs. How much paint did each sign use? Between what 2 whole numbers does the answer lie? Well, I have 3 gallons of paint and 16 wooden signs. I know that I'm going to be writing a fraction here. When I do a fraction, the top number represents the pieces, or what can be broken into pieces, and the bottom number represents groups. And the groups cannot be broken up. So let's take a look. If I have 3 gallons of paint, can I make that into smaller pieces, like use half a gallon or a fourth of a gallon? Yes, I can. So my gallons is going to be my number on top. My 16 wooden signs, I don't want to break those signs. I'm not going to break them, so that's going to be on the bottom. I will have 3/16. Now the next part of this says, between what 2 whole numbers does the answer lie? So if I had a number line here and 3/16 was on my number line, what would be the whole number right here and what would be the whole number right here? Well, we've talked in class that if the numerator is smaller than the denominator, then the fraction is less than 1 whole. So I know that 1 whole goes on this side, which means that 0 goes over here on this side. All right, we're going to move on to number 5. Refer to exercise 4, which is this problem we just did. How many wooden signs can be painted with 1 gallon of paint? Oh, all right, here we did 3 gallons of paint, which is 3/16, but now we're going to do 1 gallon of paint. Between what 2 whole numbers does the answer lie? Well, looking at it, to me it looks like we're going to have to divide this group into 3 pieces. But 16 can't be divided by 3 equally. So I'll admit it, I'm going to grab my answer book because I don't know what it's trying to tell me. Okay. So it's saying that, all right, if 3 pieces, if I have 3 gallons, I can paint 16 signs. So if I only have 1 gallon, I'm going to have to do 1/3 of this number. Okay, 1/3 of 16. So that's like going 16 divided by 3. Then I'll know how much 1 gallon of paint will paint. So I'm going to actually work this out right now. 3 goes into 16, let's see, 5 times. And 5 times 3 is 15. When I subtract, I get 1. And that 1 is actually going to go with the denominator. I'm going to put 1 as my numerator, and this 3 is still the denominator, so it's going to be 5 1/3. So 1 gallon of paint would paint 1 1/3 signs. So 5 1/3 signs. So I could paint 5 signs and then a third of the next sign, but then I'd run out of paint and need another gallon. Now it says, between what 2 whole numbers does this answer lie? Well, 5 1/3 means a little bit more than 5. So I know that my whole number is going to be 5 on this side. So if my number is 5 on this side, I need to write down what my number will be on this side. Okay, let's flip it over to the back. You're going to find the greatest common factor of each set of numbers. So I'll find the factors of 36, and I'll find the factors of 90, and then look for the greatest number. Okay, the number 36, I know I have 1 and 36. 36 is an even number, so I know I have 2. I'm not sure how many times 2 will go into 36, so I'll do a quick division problem right here. 2 goes into 3 one time, and 2 will go into 16 8 times. 18 times 2 is 6. 8 times 2 is 16, so it looks like 18. 2 and 18. I know 3 will go into 36. 3 will go into 36 12 times. 4 will go into 36 9 times. 5 can't go into 36, and 6 goes into 36 6 times. So there's quite a few factors of 36. Now, I can do all the factors of 90 right here, but what I'm going to do instead is ask myself, does 1 go into 90? Yes. Does 2 go into 90? Yes, because it's even. Does 3 go into 90? Yes, because 3 will go into 9 3 times. It'd be 30 times. Will 4 go into 90? I'm not sure, but I know that 9 will go into 90. So I'm thinking it's going to be 9, but I'll have to ask myself, does 12 go into 90? No, it doesn't. Does 18 go into 90? I'd have to do 18 times about 4 or 5. I don't think 18 goes into 90. I'm going to try it out here. 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll try 18 times 5 real quick. Ah, look at that. 18 does go into 90 5 times. Okay, and does 36 go into 90? No, because 36 plus 36 would be in the 60s. Okay, I can tell it's not. So there's my greatest common denominator. My greatest common factor is 18. All right, let's look at number 7. I'm going to do the very same thing. So I'll do factors of 16, factors of 24, and factors of 40. So I can write all of the factors and then find the greatest common factor, or I can do it like we did here and just do the factors for one of the numbers and then ask myself, does this factor go into this number? Does this factor go into this number? And so on. All right, moving on to number 8. Write each fraction in simplest form, and if the fraction is already in simplest form, write simplified. Okay, I have 4/14, so I'm going to do the greatest common factor of 4 and 14. Well, I know 4 is 1 and 4, and 2 times 2. So now I'll ask myself, does 1 go into 14? Yes. Does 2 go into 14? Yes. Does 4 go into 14? Well, 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16, so it doesn't. It's going to have to be 2. So I'll extend my fraction bar and divide by 2 on the top and divide by 2 on the bottom. So my numerator, 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2, and 14 divided by 2 will be 7. Okay, now the fraction is simplified. Okay, you'll do the same thing on these other two. You'll find out the greatest common factor. And after you find the greatest common factor, you'll extend your fraction bar and divide by the greatest common factor. And you'll do the very same thing on this one. You'll find the greatest common, the factors of 21 and the factors of 35. Then when you have your greatest common factor, you'll extend your fraction bar and divide by the greatest common factor. All right, the problem-solving problems, we're going to do those in class, so you don't need to worry about doing them. We'll do them on our whiteboards or on the whiteboard. Or, yes. So, thanks for watching this homework helper video. If you have questions, you can ask me tomorrow in class.